guys, it's Ryleigh with Literary Cucina. Today I'm going to be making an aliata roasted garlic sauce. The recipe I'm using is from a cookbook compiled by an anonymous Venetian from 1430. You might be familiar with aliata because it's something cooks continue to make, and you can find lots of recipes for this online. The 1430 version is a lot different than what you're going to see on modern websites. Those are going to include ingredients like vinegar and walnuts. This is literally garlic two ways, roasted and raw, broth, and breadcrumbs. And it makes this really savory and sweet dipping sauce that can go with meat, vegetables, bread, you name it. To start, you need a lot of peeled garlic, and I've already done that step. So I peeled probably 2 full bulbs, so I think I have around 24 cloves. I'm gonna use 12 cloves in the recipe that I like, in the proportions that I like. The recipe, I'm actually gonna read it because it's really fun how it's written out. It says to take a bulb of garlic and roast it under the coals, and you can substitute an oven in the current Middle Ages. This is from the translation of the 1430 text. I live in an apartment and do not possess a fire pit with coals, so I'm gonna roast my garlic on the stovetop, which is actually a really good kitchen hack if you want garlic roasted quick and don't have aluminum foil or something like that, or you're trying to have a smaller footprint. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. Since I don't have an open fire pit and I don't have any coals, I'm gonna use my stovetop to roast some garlic, and all I need for this is a pan, around 10 tablespoons of olive oil, which I've already measured out, and my cloves of garlic. Like I said before, I'm gonna use 12 cloves to make the aliata, so I'm gonna go ahead and put them in. Before I turn the heat on, I'm putting the garlic cloves in. And I'm gonna turn the olive oil, the burner on, and heat the olive oil to a medium heat. Here's what I'm looking for, and you have to pay attention at the beginning of this. As soon as the oil starts bubbling around my cloves, I wanna quickly wash it over all the cloves, so make sure they're good and covered, then turn it down to low. Otherwise, you're gonna just start sauteing garlic, and we're trying to roast, so we need low heat, plenty of time. In my pan, little bubbles are starting to form around my garlic. This is the moment when I wanna put the heat to low, make sure everything's well covered in olive oil, and then I'm basically just gonna let it cook like that for about a half an hour, intermittently stirring it, just to make sure that all the sides are getting evenly coated. What's really cool about this is I don't have to throw away the oil at the end. I have garlic-infused olive oil. So it's been 30 minutes and my garlic is done roasting. It's really nice and golden in color. I can tell it's infused with the olive oil, so it's kind of liquidous inside, easy to mash. The recipe that I have from 1430, I have it in English translation, but the verb that they use for the act of you're supposed to do the garlic is to grind it. I'm gonna mash it because that's the closest action that I can figure out to grinding. And so I'm gonna put my cloves in my mortar and pestle and just mash. Try to get a nice creamy texture, since these are gonna end up in a dipping sauce. Mashing roasted garlic cloves can be a little bit challenging at first because they're really slick, but if you hone in on one clove at a time and get it started, it becomes much easier. And you start to get a nice kind of paste. Roasting garlic makes it closer to like butter in texture than a raw clove. So the recipe that I have, which again is by Anonymous Venetian, it's from around 1430, says after you've mashed your roasted garlic, mash in some fresh garlic and sweet spices. Spices at the time that I think that would be referring to include like nutmeg, cinnamon, garlic, saffron, and cloves. I've tried this with all of those. It tastes better when none are involved. So if you want to be totally medieval, put one of those spices in to taste and maybe you'll like it. I like it better with just garlic and broth, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go ahead and mash up 2 cloves of fresh garlic though. So with the roasted and the fresh, you get that kind of like sweet and smoky flavor and the sharper fresh garlic taste. All right, so now I've got some fresh cloves and I've got my roasted cloves mixed. The next step, according to the recipe, is boil those in broth with breadcrumbs then you have your sauce. All right, so this is the last step. I'm going to put my slurry or my mixture of fresh and roasted garlic in a saucepan. I'm adding a cup of liquid broth to that, or stock. And I'm going to heat that to a medium heat, just to get those two things mixed together. If you want additional spices in this, you'd be totally justified medievally to put them in. I don't think it needs it. It's already got lots of good flavor going on, and the broth has a saltiness. I'm gonna kind of cheat and use store-bought breadcrumbs to thicken this. Once I put those in, it starts cooking really fast. You can be a superstar and make your own breadcrumbs. It probably would taste even better to bake a loaf and then use the leftovers, but pre-made breadcrumbs don't taste too bad either. So I've gotten that heated and pretty well mixed. Now I'm gonna put in what amounts to about 1/8 cup of breadcrumbs. You don't really need a whole lot, because it'll start taking in that liquid really quickly. I'm gonna let it simmer just enough till I get it to the desired thickness. Once it's there, I'm ready to dip. It's really good.